Welcome back to Lost Forge Tabletop Gaming. Bam! We're doing another Dark Tidings pack. The last one went pretty good, I think. But I'm looking for something spicier. The last one just left me thirsty for more, I say. But we will open this up and check out the cards inside it. Alright, so we want to go back to front, and the card is upside down. This is the same as last time. Hadizen the Elder. I don't know what half those words mean, or all of those words mean, but it is a Logos, Saurian, and Shadow deck. Where's the... just so I Boom. We are looking at 3 rares in the deck. Doesn't look like anything has been mutated. Very mediocre. It looks like Shadow's going to be very weak, but we'll open up the deck and find out. Talking about the Archon, Archon looks pretty good. Very tenderly. I like the runes that are kind of surrounding it. I learned from last time, keep the knife on hand. Quick pull opening. Someone mentioned to me about why they might have changed packaging, and they said it might be eco-friendly. But these are plastic packs, and I figure cardboard would be a little bit better for recycling than plastic, but you never know. It might be that new biodegradable stuff. I know I've been printing Keyforge deck boxes using PLA stuff in my 3D printer, and those are recyclable if you do it right. So you never know. I am not an expert, so totally could be the case. I could actually read the wrapper if I didn't throw it. All right, so first up, the Archon. Then we have the High and Low Tide. One thing I noticed that I didn't mention in the last one is based on what you have in your deck, you get totally different help guides. So if we look at the one from last time, we have Tide, Exalt, Enrage. This one has Elusive, Skirmish, Taunt, and then this one has Stun, Deploy, and Hazardous. So, a lot of different reference cards. Great. I think this is a great use of, if you're going to have to put an additional card in, you're using your cards to your advantage, which is very good. I really like that. Starting off with Shadow, and you're seeing my straw there. That is a marker to show where my camera border is. So if you see a straw sneaking in, that's why. Walk the Plank. If your opponent has 0 Aember, deal 4 damage to a creature, otherwise steal 1. Not too bad. Very dependent on a situation where your opponent isn't generating Aember or just forged a key. Shoulder ID. To taunt, Shoulder ID cannot fight. When Shoulder ID would deal damage, steal 1 instead. Not too bad. A taunt and deal 1 damage whenever someone attacks it. Seeker Needle, deal 1 damage to a creature. We've seen that before. Sea Urchin. Poison, play, capture 1. If the tide is high, steal 1 instead. Now, this is the kind of ability that I really like with Tide, where at worst you capture, at best you steal, and you have a 1/1 with Poison. So there's definitely no negative for playing this card, while the tide is high or low. Mug, move 1 from a creature you pull, deal 2 damage to that creature. Pretty good. 2 mugs. Hobnobber, that sounds really bad. Action, if your opponent has 6 or more, steal 2. Pretty decent, but you should be stealing more Aember from them if your opponent is, or if you're playing Shadow correctly. But a 3 steal, pretty good. Gas Pipes Malone. That creature Gas Pipes Malone fights, captures 1 from his own side. Interesting. So when this fights, essentially starts building up Aember onto your opponent's cards that you can take away using either Hobnobber, or not Hobnobber, but Mug. So that's a pretty good combo I can see right here. Francis, the Economist. Each player gains 1 on a fight, and then he skirmishes. Anything that has your opponent gain Aember is very risky. Trickle Down Theory, raise the tide. Omni, gain 1 if your opponent has 6 or more. Again, it's You shouldn't get to that point with Shadow, but they may be changing the design philosophy of Shadow to begin with. Play 1. Archive any number of friendly creatures from play. Choose a creature, deal 1 damage to it for each Aember your opponent has. Again, that's a very risky play. If your opponent has something like Tidings on board, this is a very good way to kind of benefit from wiping your own board. Choosing 1, deal 1 damage for each Aember your opponent controls. Has its uses. This deck really wants to give your opponent a lot of Aember, but I'm not seeing anything that's going to discourage, that. Going into Saurian, we've got this guy. Probably my favorite commons for this house. After you deal damage for each tide, while your tide is low, exalt him. 2 of him, not bad. Medicus Lacus, when the tide is high, you may spend Aember on friendly creatures as if they were in your pool. That's amazing. That is worth taking 3 chains for at the beginning or at any point. Holy cow, that is really good. And then Crushing Charge, destroy each creature with power 4 or less, gain a chain. That combos well with bringing your board back into your archives, because that way you can essentially do everything you need to, clear house, the next turn have your opponent build a board, and then you Crushing Charge it. There's 2 of those. Censor Philo, he cannot be dealt damage by creatures with Aember on it. Pretty good. Carpe Venom, exalt 2 enemy creatures. Pretty good. Pterodactyl, this is one from a previous set if I recall correctly. It enters play stunned, deal 4 damage when fighting. Deal 4 to each neighbor. Excuse me. So essentially it cleaves. Saurian. Oh man, some of these words are killing me because they're close, but they're slightly plays on words. Location, each creature with the lowest power cannot reap. Ooh, that might be good to stop certain combos. That actually could be very good. And then this is Gladodontus. Really like the art on that guy. Check him out. Gladodontus enters play stun. He only deals 5 damage from fighting. If this is the first time Gladius has been used this turn, ready and enrage it. Ooh. And he's a mutant too. That's pretty good. Turtate, destroy 1/3 of all enemy creatures and 1/3 of all friendly creatures, rounding up each time. Wow. And I believe you get to pick because it does not say random. So destroy 1/3 of your opponent's board and destroy 1/3 of yours, rounding up. Brachiodontile. Oh my god, those words. Deploy. Stun each of this creature's neighbors and move 1 Aember from each of them to your common supply. The stun effect is not worth the 1 Aember from each one of them getting added, but again, it's a way to clear Aember, which is I was complaining about the last deck not having. Not the best, not the worst. And is that my rare? That is my rare. Okay. Theory? Well, okay, going back to this. If you use him and then clear your board or destroy 1/3 of your board, and you know that you're going to have to do that, you get to stun them, then destroy them. I think that is a good kind of way to do it. Theory or conjecture, choose 1, archive the top 2 cards of your deck, play the top card of your deck. Wild Wormhole or archive 2 isn't too bad. Tall Mage Steelheart, he gains 1 for each card in you've played this turn. Pretty good. Now, that also this would count as 2 cards because play a card and then play the card that you get for playing the top card of your deck. Not bad. Phase Shift, you may play a non-logos card this turn. Information Exchange, steal 1 if your opponent stole. If your opponent stole from you in the previous turn, steal 2 instead. Pretty much a reverse steal. Pretty good. Final Analysis, destroy each creature. Each player draws a card for each creature they controlled that way. Destroy this turn. 2 Final Analysis. That's... Bilge Warden, play Reap. If the tide is high, your opponent raises the tide. Otherwise, you raise the tide. Now, if your opponent raises the tide, does that give you 3 chains? Or does... The wording on that's a little weird. I'm gonna have to look in to see what people think about that. Isotropic Core. Each friendly creature gains Hazardous 1. Before that creature attacks, deal 1 damage to that enemy. Okay, not bad. 2 of those. Ruins of Arceus. Oh man, that is some Bioshock level art. Look at that, that's gorgeous. I love the faces on it too. Put 4 Aember on Ruins of Arcanus from the common supply. Archive a card. After a player plays their 6th card this turn, if Ruins of Arcanus is ready, move each Aember from Ruins to that player's pool. That can be very easily manipulated with the Logos in this deck for sure, because you can destroy your own board and then draw cards using other creatures, then continue playing, or set up your board. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting deck. It's not clear cut what you really want to be doing with it. Let's put that back where it belongs. You can gain a lot of Aember. There's a lot of board clears, no artifact removal, a lot of stealing if your opponent has 6 or more, but it's also dependent if your opponent has 6 or more. Luckily, you have Saurians, which lets you give your opponent Aember in a controlled manner, even though that's not the best play. But I think with the combination of the cards from Saurian and Shadow, it is less risky than I originally thought when this deck was first kind of opened up. I think in general, you would want that to be... I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that would have to be in the middle of a game, seeing how it would react to the different houses and cards of the set to really understand. I think a combo I noticed, though, that is very fun. These two, they're items. So as long as they're in play, they always give that effect. And you can have a max of 2 hazard on every creature you control up to the rest of the game if your opponent doesn't deal with it correctly. I think there was a card with poison, right? I think it was the Urchin. Was the Urchin in this deck? Yeah. So this Urchin can essentially kill anything before an opponent attacks it. And everything dealing 2 beforehand, you have a lot of big stuff with armor. So there's a lot of reason to have this out in play. Oop. Sorry, phone call mid-recording. I really like these. I think in a deck that is more suited for taunts, I think this card could be really, really good. The 2 of these are really fascinating. Ruins, I think, can go off pretty easily. Final Analysis, being able to archive your entire board several times over is great. Logos is very good at being able to play up to 6 cards a turn. Again, there's no key cheat. There isn't anything that really counterplays a small amount of the board. You can deal some light damage, but you can't really just remove a card directly. So if there's an immediate threat, you have to essentially destroy the entire field, and some cards round up, so you can't just destroy 1 and 1. So if you destroy a third of the board, if 1 is a third of the board, you can't get rid of it. So you would have to have 3 cards. Well, no, if you round up, if there's 1 card on the board and you have to take away a third of the board, rounding up, 0 would still become a 1, I think. That's in a weird rule set. Let's look at the card again. Where are you here? Destroy 1/3 of all enemy creatures and 1/3 of all friendly creatures, rounding up each time. So you could destroy one on each side. So if there's only one thing on the board, you could use this, destroy it, gain an Aember. It's still really clunky. Really clunky. But not too bad. I'd say I'd definitely give this one C-. There isn't a direct combo I could see, but I think it could be a very solid deck. If this was in my pool of random decks to play with friends on a night, I don't think anybody would be upset by seeing it. I think the Tide mechanic is used better than in previous decks I've opened on channel, but we still have many packs open to go, and we'll see where those leads. So let me know what you think. How are you enjoying the set? How are the cards you're opening? Is there a card that you're very excited for? Have you gotten any cool mechanics? Have you gotten an evil twin? Have you gotten an evil twin and a good twin? Let me know in the comments down below, and tell me overall what you think of the set. I'm always interested to hear your opinion. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Justin from Lost Forge Tabletop Gaming. Let's say our own brand right, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.